and welcome to the Good Boy Podcast, the monthly dog interview, discussion, storytelling show. I'm your host, Ilya Alexeyev, and I'm joined with a longtime friend of mine, Daniel. Hey, Daniel.
Hello there.
So I've known you for a long time, like since elementary school, and you were on the you were on the list of original people to invite on, so I'm glad I got you on here. Other than knowing you for a long time and being a good friend of yours, you've had tons of dogs. Like, you were just naming them before we started recording, and I'm like, oh, I totally forgot about Tim.
Yep.
Do you want to just go ahead and, like, start from the beginning? You know, you got an impressive dog resume.
Yeah.
This is an interview, right?
Yeah. I've basically had a dog my entire life because when I was born, my mom had already had a 1-year-old golden retriever, which then lasted like the first 10, 11 years of my life. And I haven't really ever gone more than 2 years without having a dog, just because I always get that itch when you see people walking around the neighborhood and you just like miss what you had. So I've had 5 dogs, different breeds, different ages, boy, girl, temperament. So yeah, I've been through the ringer on that one.
Awesome. So, okay, so I was in the same situation, like, dog's whole life, and I don't know if you remember our first dog, Chewy. Like, I don't know if you ever came over, so you never came over to our house when we had her, but it was the same thing, but she was older, but like 3 or 4 years older. So I always thought that was a weird experience. I actually talked about that in the last episode, so I won't go too much into that, but it's just, I don't know. Did you ever think that was weird?
I just thought it was interesting, and my mom always had this funny story about how the golden retriever got very jealous of me when I was born because all of a sudden someone was getting attention that wasn't her. And when I was learning to walk, she would push me over and like kind of just like, she clearly was affectionate, but also like had her little moments of like, I'm gonna show this guy who thinks he can just come in here and steal all the attention away.
And that's a golden retriever, you know, stereotypical golden child, you know, airbud, like perfect dog. Wow, that's. And what was the dog's name?
Molly.
Molly. Was she a good dog though?
Yeah, I mean, I always took her to to school for all of the show and tells. I would always bring her in.
Yeah, I remember we did that. I did that in preschool. Yeah. Big hit.
Oh, yeah, huge hit.
And it's like you don't do any work. You're just like, here's my dog, and the kids just go like, yay! And you're like, sweet, I'm done.
And everybody just walks up, and there's just tons of hands on your dog, but luckily they're like, she was calm enough to just be totally cool with it.
Yeah, I mean, when you came over, I think it's been a little bit since you've been over here, and so Mikey was really happy to see you, so I couldn't imagine what he would be like. You know, he gets a little squealy, so I couldn't imagine him in that scenario. Okay, do you want to like talk about Molly anymore, or like?
It's funny how even though I've had 5 dogs, as much as like you have such long-lasting memories with them, they can tend to fade. Like even you who've known all my dogs didn't even remember Tim. So it's like sometimes I do forget I had Molly, even though she was alive for a majority of my life.
Yeah, and especially like it's your first like experience with a dog,
right?
You know, because it's like, I don't know. There's something so different about having like a pet as like a child than as an adult, because you don't do like any of the responsibilities. Like maybe you like walk the dog sometimes, but it's like you get all the good parts, but don't have to deal with like the picking up the poo or the feeding them. Yeah.
I would walk her like 2 or 3 blocks and be like, okay, that's good, and that's in no way, shape, or form good enough for a golden retriever.
So I'm gonna call it Ian, because Ian, I probably mentioned this before, but during one summer back when we had Sparky, we had to walk the dog, you know, and we'd rotate, and he took Sparky for a walk in the backyard. Like, that doesn't count, dude. It doesn't matter how big your backyard is. Like, that's his own turf.
Right.
I still give him crap for that, because like I'm not a fan of that. Like, I didn't like walking him either, because I was like a scared kid, but did not, you know, I would just go a block or whatever, not backyard. Okay, so that was Molly, and then who was next?
And Skipper.
Skipper. When did you get Skipper?
In high school.
In high school. Okay,
Yeah.
so you had a nice gap.
Yeah, well, Molly passed away when we were in like 7th grade, so I had a 2-3 year gap. I've never really had more than that.
Okay, and I remember Skipper, but I never found out what type of dog he was. What kind of dog was he?
I think Skipper was a Sheltie, but with a lot of those things where you get them from like an adoption agency, they kind of just pick whatever they think will get adopted. It's like you see go on nowadays, and you see so many Australian Shepherds, and you're like, that's a pit bull.
Oh yeah, we had one. R.I.P. Sparky.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, Tim was a Sheltie, and the only really funny things about Tim were that he...
Wait, Tim or Skipper?
I'm sorry.
Okay, Skipper.
Skipper was a Sheltie, and the funny things about him were that he must have been raised in the city and must have been trained to not go on grass because he had all these city habits. He would never poop in our backyard. He would always poop out on walks, and he would never walk on grass. It would be I'd have a chore to pull him along the grass if I wanted to take a shortcut somewhere. And he just had these interesting little quirks that must have been from city life at some point of I don't know, only having an apartment building or something similar.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't get the grass one though.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it's some weird. I don't know. That just reminds me of those "Do not poop on my house" signs, or sorry, on my lawn or whatever.
Yeah.
I hate those.
They just don't really seem to serve a purpose other than letting people know that
they'll get mad.
Yeah.
That just reminded me. I remember this must have been when you had Tim, but I remember you told me you were walking the dog, and whichever one it was had to poop, and there was some old guy right there just chilling in the front yard,
staring right at me. And it was he had turf, and I had bags, and I picked it up, but that was a tense situation where he did not want us to be there. But we were what am I going to do? I'm not going to pull my dog while he's mid-poop on your turf.
And it's if you're a reasonable person, you're going to try your best to clean up.
Right.
But there's the pressure. There was one time where Deem and I were walking the dog, and the house had the fence, and then they had those rocks, a couple inches of rocks, and then it was a sidewalk. And Mikey pooped on the sidewalk, and the lady's like, "You better clean that up."
Well, yeah, of course.
But it's that's not even your turf. We are, but it's you can't get mad at that. I don't know. Maybe I'm not old enough. Maybe 20, 30 years, I'll be man, I hate when dogs poop on my house. But it's whatever, they need to go. So it's just
it seems like a very worthless thing to get worked up about.
So since we live near each other, there's a house that has, I can't remember what they're called, but those little metal fence things?
Yeah.
You know the house I'm talking about? Where there's this I assume old person, whatever, who lives there, and they have it lined up.
It looks like you're trying to keep deer out of your crops, basically.
Yeah, and it's I think one time Mike jumped over it and peed, young Mike, because he had too much energy. But I remember one time we walked, he pooped near there, and it was trash day, so they had their trash can, and we used a plastic bag from a local taco shop, and so it had the logo on it, and then we threw it away, because that's what we do. And then the next day we walked by, and we saw the trash can was still out, but the bag, so all the trash had been picked up. The trash can was out when we dropped it, because that was the pickup day, or the day before they was going to get picked up. And then the next day, all the trash cans were empty on the street, and then we see our bag of poop right next to it. It's this person go through and like look.
That is intense.
Anyway,
Yeah.
random asides. So Skipper. So what was like behind the decision to get him?
I just started just aching for a dog again. I mean, you're like me, where you guys haven't gone very long without having a dog.
Yeah,
either.
I can't. I think only honestly a couple days. As crazy as that sounds.
And I wanted one, but it was that point where like I was in high school and my mom didn't want to get one, knowing that I would be going to college and then leaving her with the dog. So it was like something where I really wanted it, but we were putting it off. And then one day she just saw Skipper and came and woke me up and was like, let's go get this one. And right when we saw him, he was like super friendly. He was always sort of friendly to a fault. I remember one time we had a plumber come over, and he was so friendly with the plumber that he just followed him out and jumped in his van, and we're like, okay, bye, Skipper. Yeah, he was a good one. And then the only other like really funny thing that he had, which we never could fix, and I don't know how you would train it. I mean, maybe I could figure out now. I was just a high schooler, but he would get all of the food from his bowl, grab it all in his mouth, run away and drop it somewhere else, and then eat it. But he wouldn't pick up every piece of kibble. He'd like sometimes leave a few and go back to the bowl, grab more, walk away, drop it again, eat it. And we would constantly be stepping and crushing kibble all over the house.
You're just like walking around, and then you're like, what is that? Oh, it's stupid kibble.
Yeah.
I have heard of that before, and I think I may have seen it. I can't remember if I just saw like a random video of that, but Mikey does that a little bit, but he'll take some of the wet food and like bring it just a couple feet away and then eat it there. I don't know what it is, but there's something behind that.
It's got to be some pack mentality thing, or some way he was trained. Like maybe he was with other dogs, and you kind of just had to get what you could from the bowl and then take it somewhere else.
Yeah. So how old was Skipper when you got him?
We actually have no idea. We never really knew, and so then we would take him. We kind of knew he was like middle age for a dog his size, so like 5, 6, 7, but we had no idea.
That's always so weird. Like, I don't know. Like,
it's not like a tree where you can just cut it and see
exactly
the
rings, right? And so so you're in high school. You got Skipper. Like, were you good? Were you taking care of all the chores and stuff like that? I think you were, right?
Yeah,
I remember
he was a very, very easy dog. Besides the kibble just constantly being everywhere, with the world record being like 103 pieces of kibble. He never pooped in our yard. It was the easiest thing in the world. Yeah, he was very chill, and he would sleep in my bed all day while I was at school, so it was a very easy arrangement. Yeah, he was a good one. And then it ended up being something where he got, like, a week before I was supposed to go to college, and we were, obviously, my mom and I were both nervous about, like, her having to now have a dog, but not have me come home from school to help take care of it during the day. And, like, obviously me feeling the attachment and, like, the feeling like I'm leaving my dog behind type of thing. And it ended up being that he just kind of, like, passed away super suddenly a week before I left, which ended up being, like, I mean, obviously not great circumstances, but
yeah,
it could have been a lot worse timing-wise.
Yeah, and, yeah, like, it's a sticky situation because it's like, well, it's not peaceful, right? So it's, like, good for him, but then it's also, like, good for you guys because it's, like, a burden is off your shoulders, right. But also, like, you, like I don't think you or your mom would want him to have become, like, super depressed or anything like that while you were gone. So, like, I don't know. It's just one of those, like, gray area situations where it's like, well, I guess we're okay. But, man, that's...
You guys have never really had that issue because you went to somewhere local enough where you
Yeah,
get
yeah,
around all
yeah.
the time.
Yeah, and plus we have just more people in our house too,
That's
so
very true.
that makes it so much easier. Like, like, oh, who walks the dogs? It's like rotate. Well, if it's like the three brothers, it's like,
Very
twice,
easy.
2 point whatever,
Yeah.
3 times a week or whatever. No, we didn't really have that issue, and even like, when we first got, we got Mikey in high school, and then Dima went to community college, and I was close by, and then when we got Dewey, I had like a what am I trying to say? I wasn't like a full-time student. I was a part-time student, so I only had class like 2 times a week,
Right.
so like I had plenty of time here for him to adjust.
Right.
So, and plus you didn't even know how old he was, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, he could have been double digits.
and he kind of so he kind of had like a mixture of like, he had like kind of like longer fur,
Yeah.
and it was like gray, brown, white, right?
Yep.
So even then it's like a little harder to tell.
Yep.
It's not like, with black lab where you can just see them become more gray.
Right. Yeah, I've never had a. Oh wait, Molly went gray.
Yeah,
Golden retrievers do the same thing.
golden retriever. But like Dewey, like he's yellow, and he's just like, it's not as hard or it's harder to tell.
Right.
So, and then I guess just for you personally, like, you're sad, but then you're going like away to school, and it's like a million new things that
Yep.
are distracting you.
I've never moved with a dog, and I've never really had to be separate from a dog that I've grown up with or been attached to or lived with for that long. So I'd be interested what it's like for someone who's had to like move and give up a dog, like how they do that, because I just don't know that I could.
Yeah, I mean, I've never done that either. So yeah, I have no idea. It's just, I don't know. I don't know. I wish I had something more profounding to say. Okay, so then, Tim was next.
Sophie, if you want to count it that way.
Sophie? Okay, so
Then when I went to college after Skipper died, like 6 months later, my mom, of course, was like, I kind of want a dog again. Do you think I should get a dog? So I, of course, encouraged it.
yeah.
And she got this little 10-pound Tibetan Spaniel, and we had no idea she was going to be as small as she was because she didn't look that small in the pictures. And she was so timid and scared, and in many ways still is to this day. But my mom got her, so she's very much a mama's dog. But she's warmed up to me, even though it took her 5 years. 5 years to warm up to me.
So Skipper was like a medium-sized dog, and so it's like your mom now gets this like small dog, and it's like way more manageable.
Yeah.
Tibetan Spaniel, I did not know what type of dog she was, but just going over to your house, like when you got her, she was like terrified. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm trying to think of like a comparison. It almost feels like more like a cat, where it's just like they see you and they just like run away.
Yeah.
Do you know what her background was?
They got her from Mexico, and she was a year old or less when my mom got her. So she is like 9 or 10 now, and finally has gained a little bit of like faith in people, but for sure at the beginning. I mean, wasn't there that time where we were running late on a vacation?
Yeah. So I when I was like, all right, what am I gonna ask Daniel? So I remembered that. So you guys needed us to like feed her or whatever. So me and Ian went over to your house, and she was just like so skittish, like and she's really small too. Like, I'm not used to small dogs. So I've always had medium or large sized dogs.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know, you had like a little checklist for us to do, like whatever, add more food, change the water, whatever. So we're doing that, and we're like trying to find her, and she's like would like peek out of like your mom's bedroom or something, and then like run away. And then I forget exactly what happened, but then she like pooped like all over your mom's room or something like that. And it's like, great, I've never even been in your mom's room. Now I'm in here and there's like dog poop, and she kind of has like long fur too. It probably kind of like makes her look a little bigger than she is. And so like this was a while ago now. Okay, excuse me. As anyone would know, that's Dewey barking because Dewey does not respect the rules of a closed door. So like I don't remember exactly what we did, but I mean I was like kind of I don't know, freaking out or like what do I do? Because like I've taken care of people's houses a few times before, and it's usually like super easy. It takes like no time, but it's like there's nothing like poop that you have to clean up on like a light colored carpet.
I kind of knew that we were like, oh, this might not go well, but we kind of are just out of options at this point. I forget what it was. I think we might have had a dog sitter and our plane got delayed and the dog sitter had to leave or something along those lines. And it was like, we can't like not have her get a little food and water and outside, but we knew it was going to be tough for you. And I remember you saying she pooped and even like pooped on you. And I just,
because I think she was like hiding like under the bed, and I can't remember if one of us like picked her up, and I think she like had some like residue on her. So it's like we have to like clean it up, and I probably texted you because I was like really concerned.
Yeah, we definitely appreciated it. But that was a lot of stress for like the $40 or whatever.
Yeah, well, it's just like like I don't want to like obviously I'm not being intrusive, but I don't want, to like wreck anything in your guys' house. And it's like, that's like a tricky thing about animals though. And, we didn't go on like a ton of like vacations. And like, if we were going somewhere overnight with like Chewy, like we could just put a little extra food and be okay. But like dealing with the animal, like while on vacation is like, challenging.
I mean, that's how I think it's crazy that people our age who don't have some sort of support system, like family around or like a significant other or, I don't know, roommates who also want the dog or whatever it may be when they get dogs, because it's like you can't just be like, oh, it's Friday, I'm going to go take off on a little like weekend trip, because you have to have all this stuff planned out ahead of time.
And then even if you have like a more planned out vacation, it's like, well, you have to have an airline that can fly the dog. And then like, how will your dog even like behave? Like I couldn't imagine either of mine on a plane. And then you have to go somewhere that's dog friendly and all of that. So it's just like,
or figure out all the sitter situation.
Yeah. Or take them to like a dog hotel. Like we have some of those nearby. And then like you feel like, I can't remember how old Mike was, but we had like I don't know if it was like Christmas dinner or whatever, something like that, where it's like, we don't want him here. He must have been like 2 or 3. And so we had him there. And then like when we went to pick him up like the next day, like he's like howling and like, he's like, he's on the leash, but he's like running in place. It sounds like Scooby-Doo, where it's like like they're running like in place, like sound effect, and he's just like so excited. And it's like, if you like, I always felt bad like the few times we've had to do that, because it's like, they just want to be with you, like in the family. Like even Dewey, like just wanting to come in here, like he's sleeping now, like he's not doing anything here, but he wants to be here.
I laugh every time because we take Sophie to the PetSmart pet hotel.
Yeah.
And I laugh every time I get the report card back because the report card's like always glowing. I'm like, I know this is not true. I know you're lying to me right now.
Yeah, they're just saying that because they don't want like you to be mad and then go somewhere else, right?
Yeah. Sophie sometimes just doesn't eat if my mom's not home because she'll just go on like a hunger strike. And she definitely does not like new people. And they're always like, oh, she was so great. I'm like, lies, PetSmart. But she always comes back in one piece, so it can't be that bad.
Yeah, and she's a small dog too, like, so it's like you can just pick her up,
Yep.
you know, like.
Yep.
So you have Sophie for a while, and then Sophie's still around. So where does like Tim come?
So my mom got Sophie when I was in college, and Sophie was so skittish and scared and even semi like aggressive towards me for years, partly because I think I would only come home basically in the summer and then I'd disappear again. She never like really got in a full routine with me. And so it was like anytime my mom and I got in an argument or something, she would like immediately protect my mom and come like bark and assault me. And like I would sneeze, and for some reason that would like trigger her. And I was just so tired of being attacked in my own house that I was like, I'm gonna get my own dog because this dog stinks. She's fine now, so it's funny looking back on it. Oh, and she also used to just go and just when I'd be sleeping, she would come in and just squat on my floor. Right, and just look right at me while she squatted, just like show dominance while she like urinated on my carpet, and then would just leave the room like nothing happened.
And you're like, I weigh like 15, at least 15, 16, 17, whatever times as you. Like, you are nothing.
Yeah, so I got my own dog so that I could have like my team against my mom's team because I didn't want to get teamed up on. And a lot of the reason I got Tim was because he looked so much like Skipper. And they were definitely not similar in personality. Unfortunately, because Skipper was the easiest dog in the world, Tim was a lot more of a challenge as far as like eating furniture and being totally hit or miss with other dogs. And so I never really had like the full confidence of being like, yeah, you can have your dog say hi.
Oh yeah, I hate that. I've had that with Mike sometimes. It's like it sucks because you're like you want them to smell the other dog and you want to be nice, but it's
and
like
it could be great.
Yeah,
because like there were some where Tim like had a friend at the dog park and it was like, this is awesome. But then there were others where it would just immediately be like aggression, and it was just not. You never knew what you were going to get. There was no rhyme or reason to it.
So, how old was Tim when you got him?
2.
Okay. So like, this is just kind of like an observation that I've kind of had, but like, I think a lot of the times when the dogs, like, if you're just on a walk and then they start smelling each other and then someone gets like starts growling or whatever, I think like one of them gets intimidated or defensive, and I've seen that with Mikey when we've had Dewey, but now Dewey's gotten a little older and we don't take him out each time. Mikey's different when he's just by himself and there's not Dewey there. So, and Mikey's a pretty big guy, so he's not going to be intimidated by most dogs, but then some dogs are intimidated by him, and so then they get aggressive. But then you get like the big dogs who just don't care. Yeah. And they're fine because it's like they don't feel the need to show any alpha-ness.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's
having an alpha is interesting, especially when they think they're the alpha over you.
Yeah.
The funny thing was like it really did work as far as like helping Sophie out, because she then if she ever like came and like started like launching at me, Tim would kind of like give her a little nip, and it was like, oh yeah, Tim looking out for me. And it was funny to walk them together because Tim would always want to walk in front of me and Sophie always wants to stretch as far back on the leash as she can. So I'm basically just walking with my arms fully extended in either direction. And if somehow Sophie like ever got a step in front of him, he would run back up to the front. And Sophie started peeing like a boy dog because she would see Tim lift
Yeah.
his leg.
Yeah.
And so she started doing it, and she still like 50-50 does it to this day, even though he's not around, which always gives me a good chuckle because she obviously is a girl and he was a boy. And
Aaron's dog does that too. She does that too. And then Mike sometimes doesn't lift his leg if he's doing like a long one. Like if he's like just a little bit to claim the turf, he'll do it. But if he's just in the backyard, he'll just kind of like squat down.
were Mikey and Dewey's names Mikey and Dewey? Because Tim and
Yeah.
Sophie were not Tim and Sophie, and then we gave them like
Yeah, those were their names.
those were their names.
Yeah.
Because Tim was Duncan, and then
Oh yeah, because I was thinking like we used to say like Tim Duncan because that was like when he was still playing.
yeah.
So that's where that came from.
So Tim was Duncan, and then I don't even remember what Sophie was, but it was always funny that we gave them such human names. If you were like Daniel, Tim, and Sophie, they'd probably think it was just three humans. But
Yeah,
it was a boy, a 70 or not 70, like a 50-pound like Australian Shepherd mix of some sort, and like a little 15-pound Tibetan Spaniel.
yeah. I always thought it was like, especially like Mikey, like you know, Michael's like a pretty common name. So like, I've had people come over and be like, "I'm Mikey too," and I always thought that was weird. Like,
Yeah.
you know, my name's a little more uncommon here, so it's like I've never had to deal with someone having the same name as a dog.
Right.
Like, I don't even know how I would feel about that. I mean, obviously it's like whatever, but it's just like a different situation. So Tim was young, but you were able to change his name. Like, were you able to train him and all that kind of stuff?
I mean, he was fine around our house, except that he just like never really got out of the puppy chewing phase. So you had to make sure no shoes left around, no hats left around, no like we had to get couch cushion covers. Like the first time we ever had to do that, my mom was not happy about that. But around the house, he was totally fine. But yeah, he was an interesting dude.
So were you like, I'm gonna train him? Like I'm old enough. Like he's gonna be really good.
Of course. Of course, I was like, yeah, this dog's going to be awesome. It's just going to be me and him. Yeah, all right. And then you get it, and you're like, you take him to some classes, and you do your little, like, PetSmart intermediate training. You're like, all right, I'm done. But he also was not the brightest bulb. I've never really had the smartest dogs in the world. Molly was smart, obviously, as a golden retriever. And Honeybun, my current dog, is very smart, but the three in between were kind of doofuses.
So what happened to Tim?
That was a tough one too. He had some like spinal degenerative thing that just like spiraled out of control. So that one, again, it was the thing where it was like fine one day and then like a week later not. We had some tough luck with dogs there for a while. It's kind of why I've had so many, is because they've stayed for like 3 years, and then again that was another timing thing that was all right because I was leaving to like go to travel abroad.
Oh yeah, okay. Because I think I remember like asking you about it, and you're like, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
he died.
Yeah,
He ripped.
it was just a quick one again. And I've never been able to really, like, I don't know. I still feel bad about that one because it seemed like something that was, I mean, he was a young dog and it just came out of nowhere, but it does happen. I mean, he definitely improved Sophie, so for that it was well worth it.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that a little bit more. Do you have anything you want to say about Tim? Like, I was just gonna say, like, I only met him like a few times, like. And like when you said he kind of looked like Skipper, I was like, oh yeah, like
he
kind
was
of like have like a mixed image of them in my head.
He could be a little problem child, but it was kind of like, you know, he's my little problem child, so I liked him. And then the more like people would come over and they'd be like, he's nipping me, and like my cousins, he would nip them and try and herd them, and so like they didn't like him, and it just kind of made me double down and like him even more, even though obviously I should have trained him not to do that or something along those lines. But yeah, he was he was my little goob, even though he could be definitely a goob.
So yeah, Tim had his unfortunate end, and then so another couple years, right?
Yep.
And then Honey Bun.
Yep.
So now Honey Bun, I've met her a few times. So let's get into the baseball card stat. Like, what kind of dog is she? Go into all of that.
So Honey Bun is my current dog, and she's the first time I've ever gotten a full puppy, like a tiny, like, because we've always gotten them at like 1 or 2 or however old Skipper was. So that was the first time I've had a puppy.
How old was she when you got her?
She was 2 months, 3 months.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
She was really tiny.
Because I think I didn't meet her till she was like full grown. Yeah.
We got her, and I was trying to aim for a dog that would end up under 50 pounds, because a lot of the apartments that are okay with dogs usually have like a 50-pound weight limit.
Oh, okay.
So when we got her, she was about 20, maybe less than that. And they said, oh, yeah, she'll be like a 45-pound dog. Well, joke's on us, because she's 65 and all muscle. She looks a lot like a Whippet, but just through Googling and kind of seeing offshoots of that, I don't know actually how to say this breed name, but I like to say that she's a Hortea, Hortaya, Borzea, Borzaya. Have you heard of that? If you Google it, it looks just like her.
Let's pull it up.
Not Borzoi. It's like Hortaya.
Hortaya.
And then Borzaya.
Sorry, is this
It's
one
2
word?
words.
Okay. So, and then what was the second one? I know this is making.
Borzaya.
Hortea Borzea.
Like, look at the one in the video. The first
This one?
Like, that looks just like her.
Oops.
Like, that is her.
She looks like that. Does she have like I haven't really looked too much at her face. Her nose isn't as long as that. Her snout.
Her snout is not as long, but she has the little black freckles, and what looks like eyeliner around the eyes, and that same sort of build.
And so she's like mostly white, and then she has some like yellow, brown spots.
Light brown.
Yeah. Hortea Borzea.
But it's always interesting when people ask me what she is, because I want to say that, because I feel like that is the most accurate. But as we just saw with you trying to figure out what I was actually saying, it's not the most well-known dog breed out there.
Hortea Borzea.
Yeah.
If my Russian reading skills are good enough.
Yeah, so she's from Iran, and she came with a little doggy passport, and it's all in Farsi, and everything is in Farsi, and then there's just the word honey bun, and everything else I have no idea what any of it says.
So, so you found her from some like adoption agency or something like that, and she's from Iran, and they had like a little passport.
Yep.
You got to find someone who can read Farsi and tell what it says. So she's like 60. So how old is she now? Like 2?
2.5.
2.5. 65 pounds.
Very sinewy, very fast.
Um, and how did you decide her? You just like looked liked how she looked.
Yeah, she was just something where we were looking and she looked like an adorable little puppy. I'd never gotten a puppy before, and everything about her temperament from like the report was great. Um, she's probably more stubborn and slightly less affectionate than they sold her as, but she is Little Miss Independent.
And so like other than just wanting like because you've had a few instances where you're like I want a dog, like
Right.
were you like extra excited because like you're like we're getting a puppy, like I can like really have an impression and like train her or make her my own. Like,
Yeah, well, because like what I was just saying about Tim, where it was like you get to have like I feel like as an adult now you're much more equipped to handle the training and stuff like that. And so I was like, all right, because I've had these like every one of our last dogs has had some sort of like weird thing, whether it's like Sophie being terrified or Tim with his like chewing on stuff. And I was like, if I get a puppy, I can like do this right and really just make sure that she doesn't have any sort of like crazy issues. And she doesn't really, but she's definitely hard to train because she's very smart but very stubborn.
yes, I know that's Mikey. So I forgot to ask because we'll get into this more with Honey Bun, but Tim and Sophie, like they like coexisted. They were all right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, what was Sophie like when you got Honey Bun?
They seem to be fine. The funny thing is, Sophie doesn't really know how to play like with other dogs. She just doesn't know. Like if you don't learn it, you really can't teach an old dog new tricks. So she like can play with fetch with a ball and things like that, but like as far as playing with other dogs, she just doesn't really get it. So Honey Bun was constantly trying to play with Sophie and like do the pounce thing, where you get low and you like come and just like nip the leg a little bit and then like scurry away.
Yeah.
And Sophie just didn't get it and would like turn and go. Arr, arr, arr.
Well, it's like you like. So she's 65 pounds, which is pretty big, but she's like very thin. Like she is like tall and long too.
Yeah.
So it's like you have like these like very contrasting sized dogs. Like one's like a pup and the other is just like this tiny dog, like trying to figure out like how do you play.
Yeah.
And Honey Bun's a girl, right?
Yep.
Okay, just to confirm that. I mean I knew that, but just to put it out there. So do you think how is their relationship now?
They have their moments of like closeness. It's actually really, really nice to see that come out of Sophie. When we put them in the hotel, we'll put them in the same room together, and they'll occasionally sleep in the same bed. So they're like by no means best friends, but they definitely do sort of take after each other, and occasionally like follow each other around. But yeah, they have a good relationship. I do feel bad for Sophie because Honey Bun's so big, and Honey Bun will just like run over her all the time when she's excited about something, and Sophie just has no recourse but to just like try and when she tries to jump up and like nip her, but she has to legitimately use her entire jumping ability to like get on Honey Bun's shoulder to like nip her and be like, hey, stop doing that. She has to jump up at her, and then Honey Bun just thinks that's a game.
So so Honey Bun's stubborn, but how is she? Like, is she all right on the training?
Yeah, she would always kill it at the training as long as she was interested. Like we went to an agility course, and there were a few times where it was like, "Please, Honey Bun, like I'm paying for this. We have this 1 hour.
We need to use
and
this."
And normally she would like totally love the agility course, but there were 2 times where like I would take her over and try her jump over the bar, and she would just step over it and knock it over and didn't even care. It was like, can I see just a little bit more effort out of you? Because if she doesn't want to do it, she just won't.
Did you see that video it was like a couple months ago, where it's like this dog at like one of the dog shows, and he just like gives up, and he's like not listening at all. Like he's like goes through the like tunnel, and then he goes back the way he entered, and like he's like totally like not following it.
I know that pain. And she was always the best in the class at sitting and staying, but partly just because I would just say sit, and then she'd just lay down, and then she's like, well, I don't want to get up, so this is fine. Whereas every other dog would like want to eventually run and like chase after their owner. She was like, I'm chilling right here, I'm good.
I just coincidentally, I was hanging out with you yesterday, and just a couple observations about the two dogs is that it seemed like Sophie has like confidence now.
Yeah.
And like, does that predate Honey Bun a little bit?
No, it's definitely more of Honey Bun, because Honey Bun's the first dog I've regularly taken to the dog park because she never really has any issues. So it's pretty easy to go and just like let her run around. She also has a ton of energy. And so I started taking Sophie, and Sophie, over like a few trips to the dog park, like would go around and sniff people's feet and sniff other dogs and not immediately just cower in the corner. So I think a lot of it comes from Honey Bun being around, and also having them both go to the dog park together.
Yeah, so like when I got at your house, like she was the first one barking at me. And then I was eating a snack, and Sophie was sitting like looking at me to give her some. Yeah. Well, so that's great though that she like turned around. Like, I wonder if just having like two female dogs like helps. You know, like yeah. I mean, Chewy was female and Sparky was male, and even though Sparky was a little bigger than her, like she definitely like bossed him around or set him straight that she was like the alpha. But it seems like, I don't know, she's comfortable, so that was good to see. The other interesting observation was when I went to the bathroom. I'm going to the bathroom, and I see Sophie behind the toilet.
Yep, that's her spot.
And then I see Honey Bun in the bathtub.
Yep, that's her spot.
And I'm like, all right.
Yeah, they both like it when it gets warmer. Honey Bun's big, so she just lays in the bathtub, and then Sophie always curls up behind the toilet, like up against the toilet and on the tile.
So, how you guys didn't like leave him in the bathroom, right? Because that's what some people have done. Like they're like, we're gonna be gone like all day. We'll just leave him in the bathroom. So you're in the bathroom. There's like, where are you gonna sit?
Right. No, that was never trained. That was Sophie cowering and finding the safe space under the toilet.
Yeah, okay. That one makes more sense to me. I'm still trying to figure out the bathtub one.
She just crawled in it one time and was like, "Oh, this is
cool."
And comfy. And it has the backing around it, so she can like curl up against something. So, I mean, that was basically it. So if you're ever looking for her in the summer, that's where she'll be.
Yeah, and so it's funny is like someone came over after me, and it's like they didn't even get up; they were still chilling in the bathroom. Like,
yeah, it's been quite the progression.
But that's awesome. Do you have any like other like stories you want to like throw out there? Like maybe something you thought of?
I was trying to think of stuff. The only funny stories I really had were of like Skipper dropping the food everywhere and like not wanting to walk on grass. And I can't think of anything else that like really got me other than Honey Bun's just another one who you can't. We had to crate train her because she cannot be left alone. Because when I first got her, was like, oh, I'll test out. I'll test out just leaving her with like a baby gate up, and then I would come home and the baby gate would be knocked over, and she had hopped it, and I had a brand new jar of protein powder, and that was the only thing that she had taken out of the kitchen. So I'm like, oh, phew, she didn't do anything in the kitchen. But then I go out and I look around, and there's just protein powder everywhere, and it's all over her face. And it's like, I can't tell you how many times it was a real fool me once, like shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me situation with her, because I would try to not crate her because I just didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And she would do something every single time. There's always evidence, always.
So that's weird, like the protein thing. So like, I'll have just like the pre. I don't even know what to call it. Whatever. There, it's in a little bottle itself.
Yeah.
Protein drink, and I can't remember if both dogs, but certainly at least Dewey. Well, Dewey will try to take it sometimes if I'm like drinking it, and there have been times where it's like he's ripped it up. What do they like? Like, can they like smell that it's like a lot of protein and like because obviously dogs like meat. Like I don't.
Maybe that's it. Because she's done it with both like a vegan protein one that looks green and smells like vegetables, and with like muscle milk that is just like strawberry flavored, and she just will go for it every time.
Because I mean, dogs have like obviously like way, way, way better sense of smell than us, so maybe that's it. I should try to look that up.
It's funny too. On that note, I thought of another little one where every time we give Sophie like a treat or a biscuit that's larger than, I don't know, would take her more than 5 seconds to chew, she hides it somewhere. So Honey Bun will wait for her to hide it and then like go over there because she knows the general hiding areas. And then Sophie scurries over, goes, arr, 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 and you can't see anything, but you know that there's like in the couch cushion, like in between the couch cushions, there's like a treat there. And so sometimes Sophie will get it and run away and like scurry away and go try and put it somewhere else. And it's funny watching Honey Bun try and find them because she knows the general spots. And then another one is that when my mom was then cleaning out her closet like a month ago, she found so many dog biscuits buried in shoes in the back of the closet, shoes that she never wore, and then she would pull them out to donate them, and there's dog biscuits sitting in them. So Honey Bun either never found that spot, my mom never found that spot, and we're like, Sophie, why don't you just eat the treats? Why do you have to hide them?
That's great. I think Ben said the same thing about his dog. He had a Chihuahua. That's so weird. Like, I don't know.
They have an interesting relationship where Sophie is definitely my mom's dog and Honey Bun is definitely more of mine. And so when Sophie and my mom are in my mom's room and Honey Bun wants to go in, she kind of knows that she has to like knock on the door. So she, even if the door is open, Honey Bun will literally like scratch her paw.
Does she know shake?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
She will scratch her paw on the door to like let Sophie know she's coming into the room, because a few times she'll like go in and Sophie will immediately like run out of her crate and go, arr, arr, arr.
So that's like an interesting thing because like we got Mike when he was 9 months old, so we basically had to teach him everything. And after we taught him shake, he started scratching the sliding glass door to be let inside.
Huh.
So it's like
Smart.
It's like, yeah, you like teach them like, oh, now I can use this skill and then find new applications for it.
Yeah, Honey Bun does that when she has to go outside, so same thing. Yeah, that's smart. I should try more skills then, see what else.
I don't know what other that's the I can't think of any other skills that would like could translate to something else, but that's just like an interesting idea. Is she super food motivated, Honey Bun?
Not at all.
Not at all?
Not at all. She can be treat motivated, but they have to be like really high value. So I would cut up like chicken and like real food together, because like dog treats sometimes
we do that a little bit with Mike, but then we're like, oh, he just likes like stale like Cheerios. Like we'll just keep using those.
Yeah, I need to find something that's a little cheaper. But yeah, we did all the trainings and stuff with her, so she has like a few little skills, more skills than any other dog I've ever had, which is cool.
And as a former frequent dog park attendee, how is Honey Bun there? Like, is she running around in the pack, or what? Chasing the ball? What is she doing?
She has some friends there, but mostly she just alternates between running around like a crazy person and then going and sniffing the bushes in the corner, and then running around and then sniffing the bushes. Sometimes she just will not play with any other dogs there, but she's not like causing any trouble, so I let her go. But she has definitely a quirk where you can fire her up. It's like a wind-up doll. I just like kind of just rub my hands back and forth on her hips, and eventually she'll just like start running, and then other dogs will see her and chase her. So I just have sometimes I gotta use the little wind-up doll technique. But she's an interesting one. It'll be very interesting when I eventually try and go and take her to like my own place and see how that all works out.
Nice. Well, from the few times I've met her, she's very sweet. So you guys picked a good one and have done a good job of I don't know. I don't want to say just training, but like fostering whatever. Bringing into your home, whatever the appropriate.
It is definitely nice that I can have people over and know that she's gonna immediately go right up to them and be friendly. It's real nice to have that. I mean, you guys have that here. I haven't seen Mikey in months, and he immediately just came right up to me. It's definitely a good thing to have. Definitely a very good boy.
You commented that he didn't even bark at you.
It's true.
He's gotten soft in his old age. I just wanted to say, because we don't always talk about female dogs, but it's just called the Good Boy Podcast just because of, like, the comment saying, like, it's obviously not, like, my first dog was female, so, like, I don't want to discriminate. I actually think female dogs are probably better.
I just say good pup. Makes it easy because you never know. But
yeah. Well, too late now.
No, the Good Boy Podcast sounds a lot better than the Good Pup Podcast.
Yeah. Oh, but you do get a little alliteration there.
That's true.
Well, time to start over. All right.
We'll see you next week with the rebrand.
Yeah.
Or next month with the rebrand.
All right, Daniel. So thanks for coming on. Lot of. It felt like, you know, like we're both sports people, so like looking at some like old roster and you're like, dude, I totally forgot about that guy.
It is like that. Even when I think about it, it's like, oh yeah, I've had 5 dogs.
And I guarantee you'll think of something like later today or tomorrow or whatever. All right. Well, thank you for listening. The show is available basically anywhere podcasts are available. So please rate it there and subscribe there and share it with your friends, family, and coworkers, whoever. I want to grow the show, not out of a selfish need, but so I have cool people to talk to. The goal, not the goal, dream is to get like one like famous person to like randomly come across it and get them. And then I'll be set because other people will be like, oh, dude, so-and-so was on that. Mm-hmm. Like I see Chris Evans tweet about dogs, and I'm like, dude, I just got to get him.
Celebrities do love their dogs.
Exactly. The show, you can follow the Twitter feed for this. It's at The Good Boy Pod. I tweet occasionally, just minor updates like I will be recording, just stuff like that. And it posts when the new episodes are there. If you like that, or you can just enjoy it. It's where it's being subscribed in your feed. That came out weird. Anyway, thanks for listening and keep petting those dogs.